this faucet set up with a new one. And to do that, we need to disconnect the old faucet. So we'll undo this and that and the sprayer, which is right there, and then we will undo the nut and washer holding this in place. All right, so first we want to turn the water off. I turned it off downstairs, and then we can turn it off at the connections. Turn those off. Okay, drain the water out of your faucet, and then we'll go to the next step. All right, we will want to disconnect our sprayer, which is, this one's got a quick disconnect on it. So I just push this button up here, pop, out that comes. Now that's disconnected. We will disconnect these fittings. I'm using a number 17 metric. I don't know if that's right or not, but it works. Take that one off. We'll do the same with that one right there. Those are free. All right, so up here, there's going to be a nut that secures the top part of the faucet to the sink. And on that nut, once that nut is tightened, there's probably going to be multiple screws holding that nut in place once it's up. So you're going to just undo those screws and take those screws all the way out so that you can remove the nut. This one just had one for some reason. Once you get that screw out, undo the nut. You may want to have somebody up top holding it tight so that you can unscrew the nut. And on top of the nut is a washer that will come down with the nut. Once you have that nut all the way off, you have to bring it down and take the washer off. Which is not always easy. Have to figure it out. Finagle it, as I like to say. Once you have finagled it, come on now. That doesn't want to come off really. There we go. Gotta hold your jar with it. Once you have that washer off, you are free to hold it up. And there you go. All right, this is our replacement faucet. As you notice on the stud, we have a brass nut that will go underneath the sink. This metal washer will go underneath the sink. This rubber gasket will go underneath the sink. This rubber O-ring will go on top of the sink. All right, so let's run our hoses down and get this in place. All right, so we're gonna run all the hoses through the hole. The O-ring is still up there. All right, to be honest, you're going to have to do a little bit of finagling to get the nut and the washers past this section where there's so much going on. All right, so I started that nut on there. Remember, from the bottom up is the nut, the brass nut, and the silver metal washer, then the flat rubber gasket. Then on top of the sink, it is the rubber O-ring. Okay, so let's get that tight up there. All right, there we go. Right, so before we tighten that nut up all the way, we want to make sure that we have the faucet oriented the way we want it to be, with the handle, etc. And then after that, someone can be holding that while we make sure the nut is tight and tighten up the screws down here. All right, we've got the go-ahead on that faucet being in the right direction orientation-wise. So I'm just going to, the nut is tight, I believe. So I'm just going to tighten up these screws to tighten the nut to that silver gasket. And we'll see how this goes. One of the nice things about modern do-it-yourself jobs is they often will give good color coding and tagging. So this is hot water, while this is cold water. Red for hot, blue for cold. So this is the Republican side, this is the Democrat side. So one of the things we're going to have to do, obviously, is flush the water as it will be flowing through Democrats and Republicans. Okay, let's see. So the hot water goes to the hot water. Tighten it up. Finger tight. Make sure you're not cross-threaded. Same here. So you might get to a point where you feel like you're tight, but you're not, because on these kind of fittings, you have to make sure it's going on straight so that you'll have freedom to spin. If it's not freely spinning when it should, it's probably because you're in a bind. So that's something to watch out for, a little side tip there. All right, now let's get our handy dandy wrench, and we're going to tighten this bad boy up. Again, I'm using number 17. Somebody's probably going, why would he use a 17? Well, because I'm not a plumber. And so I'm very honest with you about this. Yep, that's right. I'm not a plumber. Okay. So I don't see any leaks at that connection. I don't see any leaks at that connection. So that's a good thing. So far, so good. Okay, right now we're going to flush the hot and cold water. So we're going to do each for a minute. So let's go cold water first, I guess. Ready? Yeah. You're obviously catching that with a bucket. Now we're going to flush the hot water. Go ahead. All right, this weight will go on the sprayer hose to hold the sprayer nozzle down, or actually in this case it holds the sprayer nozzle up into the faucet fixture. So this weight is not one piece, it's two pieces that this will spin around and become one, like barrel that goes around the hose, the sprayer hose. All right, so that's what we're about to do right now. All right, I hope you'll be able to see this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this weight on the lower part of this sprayer hose below the connector, so you can separate it. If you only have one screw in the weight, you'll be able to kind of maneuver that hose through it. I'm trying to do this so you can see it too, which I'm probably not doing a very good job. So you see how that screw is going in this side. So what I'm going to do with the other screw is I'm going to spin this around so the screw will go in through that side right there. Sound like a plan? Sound like a plan to me. All right, now we're going to take our handy dandy Phillips head screwdriver. We're going to tighten up on this bad boy loosely. So we still have to connect the sprayer hose at the connector. which is a quick connect system. All right, let's go with that for a second. Let's do the other side. And so you can slide this weight up and down as I'm doing this. You'll see that just until we get it to where it needs to be. So it won't slide off. Okay. This weight, and it's loosely attached. So we have this weight and it's loosely attached. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pop this in the old quick connect. Like so. Trying to stay out of your way so you can see how it works. All right, so now everything's connected. All right, so that's basically how we want this set up. Do you see how the weight over there is basically a couple inches above the lowest point of the hose? Let's do this, pull it just a hair. I like that. And what that's doing is that's pulling down on the nozzle up there, the spray nozzle. So let's tighten up those screws and be done with it. I really believe we've done something good here. This is good stuff. Okay. So, from under here, we've got the brass nut tightened all the way up with the silver washer on top of that, the rubber gasket on top of that. We have secured the 3 screws to hold the nut in place and hold the faucet in place. We have the weight on the sprayer, and we have the sprayer connected at the quick connect. We have the cold water secured there, the hot water secured over there. Everything is as it should be in this world. All right, this is what it looks like up top. And now that we have the weight on there, I'll show you how this works. It pulls down, you see that hose. And down here, when I do the same thing, that's why the weight is there. Have your handle. Everything's good, I think. This is nice, and that spins, but this is nice and tight. So there you go. That's some good stuff. You may break it.
Turn it off.
Oh, you want me to turn it on? Okay. She's giving me this like, and I'm like, okay. No, she wants this turned on right here. Look at that. It's just like water. Just, oh, look at that. And there's your nozzle running like it's supposed to. And it will spin back and forth freely. Get the whole sink going. I mean, man, I'm ready to take a shower. Look at that. You got your different settings for your streams. Pull that down, wash things out.
Oh, this is so tempting.
You do it. I hope you do. All right. There you go. Hope you've enjoyed it. You know, if you knew what you were doing, like I don't, if you knew what you were doing, this job's probably going to take about 20 minutes. But hope it's been helpful. Let me know what you think. Now we're in some water.